Hi, I'm Anthony Originello, CEO of the Chartered Professionals in Human Resources for BC and Yukon. We represent more than 8,000 members, and as the organization dedicated to advancing the HR profession through education, advocacy, awareness, professional development, as well as our recognized and impactful CPHR designation, we are proud to be a sponsor of this show. We have been the voice of the HR profession since 1942. Learn more about us at cphrbc.ca.
In this episode of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Kevin deBruyckere. Kevin, you're in security and enforcement, law enforcement. What is your current job?
Currently, I'm responsible for the anti-money laundering and compliance for the British Columbia Lottery Corporation, the casino sector.
So how do you do that? What does your job entail?
It involves being aware of who is participating in the gambling activities and ensuring that the source of their funds is legitimate and they can then enjoy the games that we offer in the casinos and online.
So how do you go about carrying out your job? Like, what does a day look like for you? Are you reading reports? Are you interacting with a team?
So I'm responsible for a team, not only for the money laundering aspects of the business, but also the broader investigations that, whether it's fraud activity, working extremely closely with law enforcement on bringing matters to their attention that require potential investigation regarding fraudulent activities or potential money laundering activities. We're also responsible for ensuring our reporting is completed to FINTRAC, the federal money laundering regulator. So that's also a part of the job, and collaborating with our counterparts across the country to ensure consistency and in our reporting and our application of the law. We're a Crown corporation, so essentially a part of the government that conducts and managing gambling on behalf of the province to ensure maximum revenue is returned to support things like healthcare, education, and community programs.
So how big is your team?
Probably about 25, 30 people. So not a big team, but
it's still quite a number of people, because as you were talking about the different kinds of aspects of the job, I started realizing, and your jurisdiction is all of British Columbia as well.
Correct.
So to stay on top of all of those different kinds of outlets and the activities that players are engaged in, it's quite a significant undertaking.
So the key, though, is the training we provide to those that work in the casinos, for example, and to identify any anomalous or suspicious activity, and then have the system to report that so that we can then follow up accordingly. That's really the key. It's the training and the education providing to the frontline staff. Not unlike what you see, in banks and things like that, where the key is that first line of defense and identifying that suspicious activity.
So you're also providing that training then to frontline staff.
Correct.
And how many different police departments then are you in contact with? Everyone?
Everyone. We primarily work with, though, the Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit has the Joint Illegal Gaming Investigations Team that we work with very closely, or JIGIT is what they're known as, and they're really proactive in looking at underground casinos, illegal gaming houses, the growth or explosion of the online casinos as well, that I think is maybe the next emerging threat.
It's a complicated job.
Yeah, it's complicated, and it's also rewarding to see the benefit that the province derives from the revenue that we provide.
So let's go back to like the beginning. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school in Grand Center, Alberta.
And when you graduated, did you know what you wanted to do?
So in policing, quite often there's a natural progression from father to son. So my father was in the RCMP. So I graduated high school, went to university, really didn't know at that time that this would be the path I would take. In 1985, I graduated from the University of Calgary with a business degree. And around that same time, the federal government was introducing proceeds of crime legislation. The RCMP was forming anti-drug profiteering units. So there was a need at that time for business degrees, backgrounds in policing. So I decided to join the RCMP, and that was in 1986. And
help me understand. I think that when you join the RCMP, though, you got to go to Regina, you go through basic training, you get assigned, and you start out on the street.
And I did. Started off in Williams Lake, rolled into Williams Lake in October of 1986. At that time, the highest criminal code caseload per officer in the province. So it was a great place to learn the trade, learn how to talk to people, and really skills you develop on that front line you take with you into other roles as your career progresses.
So you started out on patrol there. Where'd you go next?
Went to Tassus, British Columbia.
Wow.
Small, we just got married, and we're looking for a place to start our new life together. And it was 2 police officers looking after about a third of the west coast of Vancouver Island.
Wow.
So we went from Williams Lake to a very remote community for 2 years, and then
because that's kind of the rotation, isn't it? About every 2 years you would change.
Yeah, well, a lot of it was based on what your interests were and what kind of, it was really you could really control your career in that respect in terms of where you wanted to go. We then went to Kamloops, where my wife was from and her family was. So we made our way back to Kamloops, and there for 5 years. And then during that period of time, transitioned into commercial crime investigations in Kamloops. Also, there's periods of my career I look back on, and Guston Lake occurred there, so I spent period of time.
Well, that was a pretty intense operation.
That was very intense, and I don't think too many people recall actually what was going on back in that period of time.
It was armed conflict in British Columbia.
Armed conflict in the center of British Columbia, that's correct.
Fortunate that people didn't die.
Nobody died.
Yeah.
Right. So it's unbelievable to think back at that time as to what was going on in the province.
Mm-hmm. So you now start to move into commercial crime. What was the progression of your career from there?
Well, actually, I was commercial crime in Kamloops for 4 to 5 years, and then was fortunate to get promoted and then moved to Chilliwack, where I was responsible for, supervising a team responsible for major crimes or more serious crimes like, homicides and that robberies, and again, a different type of work. So we were there for 3 years, and then had the opportunity to be promoted again up to Prince George, responsible for commercial crime investigations across northern British Columbia, and then found my way to the Lower Mainland in 2003. Again in commercial crime.
And ultimately you rose to what position within the RCMP?
So through that period of in the Lower Mainland, made my way to a chief superintendent in charge of federal policing. I think the highlight, though, and I think what has allowed me to transition from, the public sector to the private sector was 3 years on the team planning security for the 2010 Olympics. So that was very rewarding and probably a highlight, especially in light of the outcome, the positive results from that period of time.
Exceptionally positive.
Yeah. So
after how many years did you leave the RCMP?
29.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what made you say, okay, it's time for me to explore other opportunities?
Well, I think what we were going through personally, and then an opportunity arose with HSBC at the time to head their anti-money laundering efforts across Canada. So I jumped at that opportunity.
And so you were, I guess, in many ways perfectly aligned to take on a role like that because of your commercial crime experience with the RCMP. I
think so. And I think the policing generally brings a unique ability to navigate complex challenges or emotional challenges in a calm way. Yeah, right. So, especially in the private sector, that, many of the leaders may not have experienced similar challenges, emotionally charged events and that type of thing.
How long were you with HSBC?
It was about 4 years, and then an opportunity arose with the Lottery Corporation at the time. They were getting ready for the Cullen inquiry.
And they needed the same level-headed and experienced approach.
I think so, and then allowed me to kind of navigate through that, and I provided testimony during that inquiry as well. And
it's been a good career.
It was a good career, and I look back.
Well, you're not finished yet.
Okay.
Yeah. No. I mean, you're still working.
Still working.
Yeah.
Getting closer. I think the runway is getting shorter, as they say. I look back at, I look back in the context of a lot of controversy over the role of the RCMP and trying to be everything to everybody. That's role in federal policing, provincial policing, and municipal policing. We saw what happened in Surrey. But I think there's a really, really positive role for the RCMP in the smaller communities in terms of policing. That's really where their bread and butter is, I believe. I think there needs to be an evaluation of the role of the RCMP in federal policing, for sure, whether that remains with the RCMP or another agency, but there needs to be some work there, I believe.
So if there's a young person watching this interview right now and they're going, well, Kevin, it sounds like you've had a pretty good career. And it's a good career to choose. Policing offers so many opportunities. What did you discover about yourself, like your own internal processes or strengths that played a role in you having a successful career within policing in Canada?
So, I look back, I mentioned my father, and a couple tidbits of advice. One was never ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. Rather cliched, but you internalize that type of advice and you live by it. I think I have. Remain calm, in the face of crisis is another one that I think is very important, and one that, I constantly, even to this day, remind myself of. Let's just take a breath and move on. So I think those are very, very important attributes. Especially I think as you get a little bit older, develop more of a pragmatic view. Look at, maybe what from a viewpoint of what's right and what's wrong, or gray, and allow that to guide decisions and views. The other thing too, especially in today's age, is not to engage or get sucked into engaging, right? Like I think that is also I think a good piece of advice given the social media influence.
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving us a glimpse into your current job and your career path getting to there, because you couldn't have your current job if you hadn't done everything else that built towards that. And I think that there's real value in being able to see inside different people's lives, their careers, and the great work that they do giving back to the communities that we live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.